Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
My name's Casey, but you can call me tonight.
And I'm Sam. I didn't come up with a funny name.
and
let's get screaming.
Sam, let me ask you this question then here at the top.
Okay.
How's your head?
Never had any complaints.
There you go.
Oh my God.
It's going to be a punterific episode as we are talking the Mistress of the Dark. Sam, who are we talking about today?
We're talking about the queen of horror herself, Elvira. Cassandra Peterson as Elvira. We're talking Elvira, Mistress of the Dark from 1988.
88.
I thought so. Okay, God, I didn't have it right in front of me. Trust my instincts. And Elvira's Haunted Hills from 2001. Of that one, I'm sure.
Or 2002.
Oh, is it 2002?
I've seen it listed as both.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking Elvira. We're talking her two feature films, one of which is directed by Sam Irvin, who next week you guys will get to hear from at length. Like, he gave us over an hour of his time telling amazing stories about his life and career. And yeah, you're going to hear a little bit about Elvira's Haunted Hills on that too. So
yeah, this is we did that on purpose, people. Believe it or not, we try to tie in our double feature today into our interview that is coming out next week. And yeah, I mean, this is one we are eventually going to do just because.
Yeah.
One, like Elvira. Like, we have to talk about Elvira at some point on this show. And these are her two feature film outings. I'm sure we will talk about her outside of these as well.
Yep.
In the future. Just because, again, she's Elvira.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's start with that before we jump into the double feature. What was your first exposure to Elvira? When did you first learn who Elvira was, what she was about? When did you fall in love with her?
So it had to have been sometime in middle school. I don't distinctly remember the first time I saw Elvira, though. Like, all of a sudden, it was like Elvira was just there. Yeah. Like, I just knew who Elvira was, and it was like, oh, she's awesome. And most of it was like me YouTubing clips from like her shows and stuff like that. And a lot of Mistress of the Dark clips. Like, I'd probably watched most of this movie before I actually sat down and just watched the movie, because I used to spend hours just clipping through it on YouTube and stuff. And yeah, and then just, over the years, her stuff is pretty easy to find on streaming. It's about everywhere. So yeah, it just kind of turned into one of those, I throw on Elvira when I'm looking for a spooky, fun, kind of cheesy movie, whether it's, her hosting something or her movies. What about you, Casey? What's your history?
Again, like you, I don't know my first time I ever saw Elvira proper, but it was just like, she's kind of just always been there. Like, Elvira's always just been this pop culture icon, like an Elvis, like a Michael Jackson, like on that caliber of, like, they just always existed. I don't know the first time I ever listened to an Elvis song, but it's like Elvis has always been there. Same with Elvira. It's like, I don't know the first time I was ever exposed to her, but I think it was probably like, again, when you have someone like an Elvis, where they're, Elvis existed, and you might not have ever listened to their music or watched his movies, but you've seen the parodies, you've seen the cartoon versions, you've seen the ripoffs, the spin-offs of him. That was me with Elvira more so than Elvira herself until probably adulthood.
Yeah.
It was like I was exposed to her through stuff like Darkwing Duck had an Elvira knockoff. The Simpsons has an Elvira knockoff. Like, Scooby-Doo has plenty of them throughout the entire run of Scooby-Doo. And Yeah, that was my exposure to Elvira was all these other takes on her. But you always, now looking at it as an adult, you're like, well, that's their Elvira.
Yeah.
And I know she's not like the first ever horror host.
Yeah.
Vampira, like, is what Elvira is literally based on.
Yeah, to the point where like Vampire actually sued her at one point. Like, yeah.
Well, sued the people who made her. What was her original show called?
Was it like Elvira's Movie Macabre or
Movie
something?
Macabre.
Yeah, Movie Macabre.
They sued that.
More so,
I think, than
more
Elvira.
so than Elvira. Yeah, not Cassandra Peterson. Yeah. But yeah.
Or commercials. Like I saw, like Elvira was always in commercials, especially around Halloween time.
Absolutely.
Like, it was always Elvira and Frankenstein's monster in those commercials.
Yep.
Like one or the other.
Yeah. I guess if you think about like the first time I probably saw like the iconography of Elvira was most likely Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf with Vanna Pyra.
Yeah.
Who's very clearly just Elvira is Dracula's wife. You know? That's just like, God, she's so just, I mean, just the last episode we did, Terror Vision, has an entire character that's basically, you know, Medusa is
a take on
Elvira, you know? She's like air. She's just everywhere.
She's easily the most famous horror host of all time.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, runs away with it when you tell someone, like, name a horror host, who are they going to say?
Yeah,
10 times out of 10, they're saying Elvira.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's not to discredit, you know.
No, I mean, God,
Vampira and Joe Bob and Svengoolie and so many great other ones, but it's Elvira, and then there's everyone else.
Yeah.
But she got her first outing in the movies in 1988, which again, her show ran like early 80s, was Movie Macabre.
Yep.
And that was her, again, hosting these movies, not necessarily being in them, just hosting them, telling jokes about them.
Mostly riffing on them.
Mostly riffing on them, doing the original Mystery Science Theater 3000, like doing the OG version of that. As the character of Elvira, played by Cassandra Peterson, who was a member of the Groundlings, which is like literally like the minor leagues before you get to SNL and Mad TV and any other televised sketch TV show. You start in the Groundlings, and then you usually graduate to SNL.
Yeah, and she graduated to horror movies, which is kind of great.
Yeah. And again, there's so many Groundlings in this first movie, especially in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. But yeah, let's jump into it. 1988's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Again, SNL connection right away with the director of this movie, James Signorelli, who for like forever on SNL directed all the movie parodies and a lot of the commercial parodies. So like basically anything like pre-digital shorts that was pre-taped was this guy.
Yep.
Written by Sam Egan, John Paragon, and Cassandra Peterson. John Paragon and Cassandra are the two creators behind Elvira. Much like Pee Wee Herman, which is another character I think this just directly relates to, where there's multiple people that created that character that's played by the one person.
Yep. Absolutely.
And there's, I mean, the reason this movie exists is because of Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to mention Cassandra Peterson and Paul Rubens are very much like close friends, to the point where Cassandra Peterson is in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
And she tried to get Paul Rubens in this one.
Yeah.
But he was shooting, I believe, Big Top Pee Wee is what I read.
Yeah, I think that's right. Right.
And I mean, again, taking an iconic, again, someone like Pee Wee Herman. I don't know the first time I ever saw Pee Wee Herman. I just always knew of Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Elvira. That was probably the better comparison maybe than Elvis, but I think Elvis also works. But
well, I mean, she's also connected to Elvis too, so it works.
Yeah,
it works.
She falls in that same category of people that just like transcend being almost being human in a way.
Yeah, they're like icons. I mean, that's what they are.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the Sarah Silverman joke in Pop Star, like how she wants Connor Friel to be everywhere, like air.
Yeah.
So the plot of 1988's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark is the host with the most, Elvira, dreams of a new life in Las Vegas, but must find a way to get $50,000 for her one-woman show when she inherits her great aunt's small town house and a cookbook with a recipe for destruction.
That about sums it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the basic plot of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Sam, what's the deal with the beginning of this movie? Who puts on their local news after Elvira? What's up with that?
I don't know, but it's a funny sight gag.
Like, is Elvira on at like 4:00 in the afternoon before the 5:00 news? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, she's there for the after school programs, you know?
I guess.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if Elvira ever hosted Sesame Street. No, guarantee she didn't. There's no way they would have allowed her on PBS.
Maybe not. No. I was like, well, I mean, she doesn't really swear. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that. It's that.
Yeah.
Even this movie's PG-13, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, because there's
how many
really
gags
not
are in this movie.
Yeah. But it's all innuendo. I feel like I found watching these, especially Haunted Hills, it kind of surprised me. About halfway through Haunted Hills, I was like, oh my God, this is a PG-13 movie, because it's riffing on like some very R-rated concepts. And especially with like some of the stuff that we'll get into with the third act of that movie. And Mistress of the Dark is very similar. There's like a lot of innuendo.
There's a whole scene where the secretary from Ferris Bueller's Day Off sits on a guy's face. Like,
oh my God.
I don't know how they got away with that.
I love Edie McClurg. And
she's
that
so good.
is,
I love her in this.
So legitimately most of my notes are just quotes from this movie, because this movie is endlessly quotable. Yeah. And I'd say it's about a 50-50 split between Elvira and Chastity Pariah.
What a great character name.
It's so good, and it fits so well.
Yeah.
In her autobiography, her memoir, Cassandra Peterson talks about like how she was friends with Edie McClurg, and they did the Groundlings together, and she literally cast her in this movie and told her to just play herself, but dialed up to 11. And I'm like, it's perfect. It works,
Yeah, the entire supporting cast in this movie is so great.
Yeah, you've got
like Kurt Fuller shows up, and he's the like the real estate agent of this super small town, but he's just like a total sleazebag, and he's like, if you want to sell this house.
Yeah, the whole, like, what do they call them? The morality board.
Yeah,
all of them are like old timers, that just kind of old timey character actors that just nail their parts. Like, I love the couple that runs the inn. Like especially the old guy, Leslie.
Sam, I was about to. You can keep the positivity going. I'm about to get into some of my negatives. I don't know if you saw my Letterboxd score.
Oh, I did.
Okay. But here's the
funny thing.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
I saw your Letterboxd score, and I was so offended. I told Maria, and her response was, well, I think we can just agree that that's a wrong opinion.
Here's the thing. I don't dislike this movie. Like, I like this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's more so I love Elvira.
Yeah.
and it's an Elvira movie, so obviously you have to like it. But for me, it's like the movie around her doesn't. I have zero connection to it for some reason. Like this is the second time I've watched it in probably 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, I just don't latch onto anything besides Elvira in this. I think some of the, like I said, the supporting characters are fun. Like the character actors, I like them, but I feel like we don't get enough of them to like fully latch onto them either being friendly to Elvira or an antagonist to Elvira. There's not enough of them for me to latch onto, and they're not quirky enough compared to Elvira.
See, that's what I don't know. That's what I love about this, though, is I guess I don't get that you don't. I get enough of these characters to know. Oh my God, my cat's trying to like attack my freaking phone right now. Go away, Boris. I don't know. Like, to me, this is a very exaggerated version of like growing up in a small town, but like it's also a very accurate portrayal of small towns and how they, I mean, relentlessly judge anybody who's a little different.
Yeah.
And so the fact that all these characters are kind of like boring characters is part of the whole joke, is that like I think you're supposed to only really be latched on to Elvira. I find the kids kind of endearing, but especially the montage where they're all sneaking out to go to her show. But yeah, no, like I understand that, but I don't know. To me, that's like one of the charms of this movie.
Yeah, it's just a little dry for me, I guess, is the best way for me to put it. Because I look at like something like, so one of my notes I had in here was that Tim Burton was Cassandra Peterson's first pick to direct this. He was busy making a little movie called Beetlejuice at the time. And I want that version of this movie because I feel like his visual style with the character of Elvira, even the same story, just adds a whole new level to everything in it. Like I'm picturing Edward Scissorhands, but instead of Edward Scissorhands, Elvira is there.
Yeah.
Like that's like the perfect dream movie that this could have been for me. Instead it's and I think it comes down to the directing choice. Honestly, because James Signorelli, he is used to doing parodies. This isn't really it's not a parody of anything specifically. Like it's a riff on the fish out of water trope, but that's not a parody.
No, you're not wrong, but I don't know. I'm
not taking away anyone's enjoyment. I know most people love this movie. It's just something about it doesn't fully connect for me. But like Elvira's incredible in this. Her love interest, we can talk about him.
I love that he's just a bland old slab of meat. It's like the oblivious, just like, I think that's just the joke, is like he is just the pretty arm candy.
Yes, yeah. And that's the joke, but when he's like sort of an emotional crux of Elvira, it's like I need something a little more. Like I get he runs a movie theater and she's a movie host, but
I mean, is he the emotional crux of Elvira, or is he just like a hot guy she wants to hook up with while she's in town?
Well, I guess he's just the hot guy she wants to hook up with, like the same with any other comedy where you have the roles reversed. I get that too. But like, so in Elvira's Haunted Hills, she has the thing for like a supermodel dude who's like totally dubbed
the Fabio
over.
Guy.
Yeah. And I'm like, she has more chemistry with that guy and he's not even speaking English.
I don't know. I think she has about an equal amount of chemistry with him.
I guess maybe just the overdubbing of that guy does it for me a little more.
Yeah, that's an inherently more like goofy premise, so it like stands out a bit more than just like, because I mean he's a bland just slab of meat basically. But I love Bob, and it's simply because like every other guy in that town is like falling over themselves around her, and he's just like, oh hey,
Yeah, like super gentlemanly introduces himself, nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's like the only somewhat normal person in town too.
Probably the only one, right? Him and the teenage girl, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. The teenagers in this movie. Okay, let's talk about them a little bit because
Yeah.
I looked up, like, they're an addition to this movie. They weren't in the original script. It was a studio note. Hey, add some teenagers because that's the crowd we need to try to get to this horror comedy. So let's insert all these teenagers. I think it works fine. Like, they're not perfect, but I think it's fine. Like the scene where they all like go to Elvira's show,
yeah,
at the movie theater, I think is one of the best scenes of the movie.
Yep.
You have the kid who's Will in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the wizard. He's one of the kids in this movie too. Looks exactly the same.
He's the one that rips his pants?
He's the one with the glasses on.
Yeah.
The nerdy kid with the glasses.
Isn't that the kid that... Oh, wait, no. I think I'm thinking a different person.
No. I think a different kid rips his pants.
Yeah. The kid who rips his pants is like my favorite because he's sneaking out. His pants catch on a nail. You hear the rip. And then he has to sneak back into his house to change his pants. I don't know. If we haven't talked a whole lot about plot in this movie, it's because there isn't much of one. No. It's very much...
I literally said it at the beginning. That's the plot of this movie. Like,
yeah.
There's also this MacGuffin of,
the recipe book.
The recipe book that isn't really put into play until the final third of this movie, really.
Yeah, it's after she hosts the movie when she's trying to cook dinner for Bob.
Yeah.
At like 3 in the morning.
Yeah. After watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. So it's probably more like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Cooking dinner. Yeah. So I do love the whole thing. Like we talked a little bit about the opening where, Elvira comes on and then the news comes on. But I've always loved the interaction between her and the like news station owner or whatever. My favorite line in this whole movie is, "I'm gonna tie your granny in a weenie knot," or your weenie in a granny knot. And yeah, I don't know. That whole exchange just like, it's so stupid and over the top, and I love it. And you go right into her finding out she has an aunt who's been deceased, and right as she needs the money for Vegas, and she has the one-liner of like, "I didn't know I had a good aunt," or "I didn't know I had a good aunt, much less a great one." Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, there's just like all this.
There's so much wordplay that Elvira has in this movie. It's really the standout of it.
Yeah, I feel like this one is very much like dialogue heavy, where almost every scene I can quote at least certain things from it, where it's like, oh yeah, that's where this zinger happened and this zinger happened. Whereas like we'll get into it with Haunted Hills. I don't know if Haunted Hills is as quotable as this one is. Like the dialogue doesn't stand out as much in that one, but the slapstick is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like very much more of like a physical comedy movie rather than a verbal one.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is largely verbal.
Yeah. So when we talked about the theater scene, we didn't talk about Elvira does the flash dance sequence.
Yeah.
And like gets covered in like black tar.
Yeah. By Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. One of my favorite sight gags in this movie is when they're getting set up in the theater and it pans over to the curtain and you see Patty's shoes underneath the curtain, and then the camera comes up and you can see her boobs.
Yeah. Pointing out.
Pointing out. This movie is just like endless boob jokes.
Yeah. I mean, that's most of the jokes in this movie.
Yeah. Like 90%.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a part where like she's getting gas on her way to Massachusetts, and it's literally just her pressed against the windshield for no one. Like
it down.
She's wiping down her own window.
She drops her hot dog right between them.
Yeah.
It's so gross. It's like a nasty looking hot dog too.
Mm-hmm.
She picks up the grody hitchhiker. The hitchhiker scene is so weird. She picks up a hitchhiker who's like definitely got something a little off about him. And
well, yeah,
like,
he has an axe.
is that what it is? I mean,
Yeah.
because like,
so she picks him up. She picks him
up. She halts, but he has his shirt off. I don't think the axe was the problem.
No. So like he gets in the car, and in his mind, okay, I'm gonna kill this lady and take her car. But Elvira at some point takes his shirt off. And he gets scared off and runs away. And she's like, "Oh, you forgot your axe," and throws it at him.
Oh.
Because you hear the axe hitting the guy. Or the hatchet or whatever.
See, I always thought he was like exposing himself to her, so she stopped.
Oh, no. It's the other way around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She has the power there, Sam.
That makes it funnier.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie I don't know how many times. I never even thought of it that way.
That's the joke, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. I've always thought that scene was so weird and out of place. I was like, I don't know. She's just like, yeah.
No, he got the murderous hitchhiker gets scared off by Elvira.
Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah.
One of my favorite visual gags is Baby Elvira.
Oh my God, yeah, where she's got the full makeup and the wig on.
Yeah,
and...
nails painted, has the ring, the full dress, everything.
Yeah,
like it's just great. That's just Elvira.
Yeah.
She's not wearing a costume, she's not doing her hair, that's just her. She was literally born that way.
That's the best part about this movie is like it's not about Cassandra Peterson playing Elvira. It is literally just
she's credited as
Elvira.
Yeah,
it's amazing. There's the gas station scene with the nasty gas station attendant where she like causes the death of him and sees it in the rearview mirror and shrugs and just keeps driving.
Okay, so when she gets into this small town, and I know this movie came out years later, but I can't help but think have you ever seen the movie To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar?
Nope.
with Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo.
I've never even heard of this movie.
Oh, you would love this movie. So they're three drag queens on the way either from New York to LA or vice versa.
Oh, okay.
To go to like a major drag show.
Wait, did the state play this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I have heard of this. I have not seen this.
The plot of that movie is literally the plot of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. They end up stuck in a small town with conservative values. But what's really weird is not only that, but in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, one of the sleazy dudes at the bowling alley is Kaniki from Greece.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, one of the townsfolks who's like, you guys shouldn't be here type of thing, but eventually comes around to them.
Yeah.
Is Rizzo from Greece. So there's like this weird connection between Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and To Wong Fu. It's so weird. They're the exact same plot, except one's with three drag queens and the other's with Elvira, but they both feature former Grease cast members as small townsfolk.
Dang, that's kind of incredible.
Yeah. If this wasn't a horror podcast, that's the movie I would pitch to double feature with this.
Yeah. Maybe we can do
so many similarities between the two.
I don't know. Maybe that's
your homework. That's your homework for the next episode. Watch To Wong Fu, and then we'll talk about it in our recent watches.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
When this movie starts to come alive for me is really in the third act, and I think maybe it's just because that's when like the horror stuff starts coming in, and that's really what I want out of this movie. I guess it's Elvira, the horror host, in a horror movie, horror comedy movie, And so like she starts making like this dinner from that cookbook, and it like basically creates like this stew monster that comes out, and it's a really great like practical effects.
It
monster.
is.
It looks awesome. It's kind of the one little bit that we get of monster effects in this. I wanted more. I think that would have been really cool. But yeah, like
Yeah.
the little monster, stew monster fits perfectly.
Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, there's not really much. There's a little bit of like prosthetic work on Uncle Vincent in the final act. But yeah, it's not a very like FX makeup heavy movie, you know?
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Uncle Vincent a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, another reason why this movie just doesn't work.
You don't like Uncle Vincent?
I want someone else to play Uncle Vincent. He hams it up, but not enough. I know Vincent. So Vincent Price was originally approached to play this. He didn't appreciate all the material. I'm like, you prude, Vincent Price. Like you have any room to talk in 1988 about what's appropriate to do and not do. But that being said, like, I don't know. I could have used maybe a different character actor in this role. Or maybe he just needed to be in the movie more. I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel like there's enough, or that he's actually a legit threat in any way to Elvira.
Yeah. I think part of it is like, this is such an ensemble comedy movie. Like, Elvira's the lead and she's the through line and everything, but like
all the antagonists are an ensemble.
Yeah. Like, there's so many antagonists in this that you don't get as much time with Uncle Vincent as like as maybe you could, but I think for what this is as a vehicle for Elvira, the movie surrounding her is like very good at bolstering her. You know, no one really outshines. Edie McClure comes close.
No, she doesn't. She's great in this. She's great in this. No one comes close to Elvira.
Excuse me, is this space taken?
It's a great line.
Like the best line in this thing. Oh my god.
It's super funny. Doesn't take away from Elvira. I'll defend that part. Like, this is.
I'm not saying she outshines Elvira in her own movie. Elvira is still very much the star. But as far as like supporting goes, Edie McClure runs away with this.
For the supporting people, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my god.
She should have been the main villain. Like, she should have been like a Kyle's mom in the South Park movie character.
Yes.
Because like in that movie, she's the main villain. Like, I know Saddam Hussein's in that movie, but Kyle's mom's the main villain.
Yeah. Kyle's mom is a big fat bitch.
She is.
Oh god, like the thing with her, with like Chastity Pariah, the quote that like sums her up, and I wrote this down, is like it's when she's talking to Vincent on the street corner about Elvira being his niece, and she goes, and I know it's none of my business, but then again, everything is.
And he like just tries to get out of there as quickly as possible, and she says something like, "Oh, I know someone out here needs me."
Yeah.
like making herself assertive into everyone else's business in this town.
Yeah. Oh my god, she's just very much that like. Yeah, she's not the town pariah. That's not the right word, because like she's not a pariah. She's pariahing other people, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you've been in a small town, you know someone like that. You know someone who literally knows everything about everyone, whether they want her to or not.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, it's insane. She plays it so well. She plays it to a T.
Yeah.
And even exaggerated as it is, it still feels like very true to life. So I don't know. I love her to death. She's so great.
Do you have any other final thoughts you would like to bring up before we go with Elvira to the Haunted Hills?
Oh, after so Elvira tries to replicate the stew monster and accidentally makes a potion that makes the whole morality club picnic
Oh yeah,
horny.
make all the
Yeah.
old people horny. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's the town meeting then where they're all turning on each other afterwards. the the um the one that Chastity Pariah sat on is like they're arguing back and forth about who started it, and he goes, "I almost died. You could have worn out a mechanical bull." That had me like laughing for 5 whole minutes. I could not stop. It was so good. Oh yeah, and then when they're burning Elvira at the end, she has the great line, "We should have one. We ought to have one of these every year."
Every year, yeah. That's the main villain. She should have been the main villain. That's a main villain line. Yeah.
Yeah, and she just gets turned into a pig by the actual big bad in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't know.
You think she's still a pig running around that town afterwards? Like Elvira's probably the only person that could have turned her back. So
yeah, I don't see because she's not in the end at all when Elvira
no, because it's her. It's her, the guy she sat on, and Kurt Fuller that get turned into the pigs.
Yep, and you don't see him in that final scene.
Yeah.
So they're still like running around downtown as pigs.
Oh, we got to talk about the final scene though.
The tassel
Vegas
scene?
Yeah,
the Vegas scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scene that wasn't going to be in the movie.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they ran out of money.
Oh.
And apparently Elvira had to literally go to the producers of the film and be like, well, no, this is kind of an integral part of the movie of her fulfilling her dream of what the whole movie is leading up to.
Right.
And it's this huge, like, Vegas number. Yeah, Cassandra Peterson's great in it. Showing off, like, many talents that she has.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just Elvira who can host horror movies. It's so many singing, dancing.
Yeah. And I feel like you get to see that in both of these movies is like, and that's why they're just like, they're just great showcases for Cassandra Peterson in general. I mean, they're very much like showcases for Elvira, but like they incorporate so much of all of her other talents into this. And I don't know. I appreciate these. I just think these movies in general are just widely underappreciated. And even though Elvira is iconic, I feel like the character is iconic, but I still don't necessarily feel like you see people listing her as like a horror host. But I think part of that is because she's kind of grown into like more than that, you know?
Yeah, though, again, if let's relate it back to Pee Wee Herman, because I think that's probably the best character to relate her to, where you have something like Pee Wee's Big Adventure. When you talk to people about Pee Wee Herman, most people are going to say it's Pee Wee's Big Adventure is their introduction. Maybe not even the TV show. Or if it is, I mean, that's two different people. That's two different segments of people that were exposed is the wrong word to use for Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
But that's the only word I can think of to him in that way. And Elvira, though, I think it's definitely more so. I don't think many people were probably introduced to Elvira because of Mistress of the Dark. I think it's more through horror hosting, commercials, talk shows, everything outside of it.
Yeah.
And maybe led them back to this movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's why this movie exists, because the character was so popular. They're like, okay, well, let's make a movie about her. She was supposed to get her own TV show after this. That I'm kind of wondering why that didn't happen, because
no kidding.
Like an Elvira sitcom seems like $1 million idea.
Yeah. Especially with like her particular brand of humor. Like she's very shticky, you know, like she's kind of vaudevillian almost, you know, where she's very old school comedy. And I like that.
You could even see the TV show taking place in this small town.
Yeah.
Or like maybe Elvira hosts either the local cable access horror host show or like the live performance at the theater. Doing Elvira, but in this small town, but as a sitcom.
Yeah, exactly. And like the stuff she has to deal with on a weekly basis because
it's the Munsters with Elvira.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Sam, how many gonks out of 5 are you giving this movie?
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about Gonk. I would die for that dog. It's adorable.
Shape-shifting dog.
Yeah. That doesn't turn into a Rottweiler when he should. Every time.
Yeah.
Like he turns into a Rottweiler and then later, like literally like 3 minutes later, you're like, you could turn into a Rottweiler again and like solve a lot of things, dude. And he doesn't. Like that dog can be a dick.
Yeah. Well, if he can turn into a mouse, like what else can he turn into?
Yeah, like he could probably turn into a dragon.
Yeah.
Or a water buffalo and
or
take the water out. Yeah.
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 Some things. Anyway,
or a chastity pariah.
Anyway, how many gonks out of 5 are you giving this?
I give this one 5 gonks on this. I love this movie. I don't disagree with some of the issues you have, as much as like, to me, that's kind of part of what I love about this movie. Like, I don't know. It's just a vibe. It's a total vibe, and I love it. And every time I watch it, I love it more. And the same goes for Haunted Hills, but I haven't watched that one as much. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah.
I know what yours is, but I'll ask anyways. What's your gonk rating?
I give it it's a 2.5 out of 5 for me.
Well, that's insane.
It just doesn't fully work. Doesn't fully work for me. I wish it did. I really do, because I love so much about this that I wish the whole worked for me.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Like I want this to be Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It doesn't. That's the level I think this should be at, and it just doesn't quite get there.
Yeah.
For me, I get why people love this. I really do.
It's a weird little movie.
It is. Know what else is a weird little movie? Elvira's Haunted Hills from 2002, directed by Sam Irvin, friend of the show, Sam Irvin. Written by Cassandra Peterson and John Paragon. This movie is a send-up to the 1950s and 60s Roger Corman and Vincent Price Edgar Allan Poe films. In this, Elvira, the ultimate entertainer of the 1850s, finds herself thrown into the classic Poe narratives.
I thought you said Ho narratives. I was like, man, that's a little judgmental, but
I'm not being judgmental. She would have said the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie is completely different than Mistress of the Dark in every way possible.
Yep.
Where Mistress of the Dark is, again, taking Elvira in a modern day and putting her through a story there. Here, she's Elvira in the 1850s Romania.
Yeah. Yeah.
And literally a Edgar Allan Poe, Roger Corman movie.
Yep. No, I mean, and it works. Like, the character shouldn't work there, but it really does. Like, it's just, I don't know. This movie to me, so this one is a pretty recent watch. How about you? When did you first see Haunted Hills?
Oh, I probably watched it right around the time I first watched Mistress of the Dark.
Oh, okay.
Which is, again, within the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So this one,
and I know Joe Bob played this, and I think we watched it together.
We did. Yeah. Wait, wasn't that your first time watching it too?
Maybe.
It might have been.
Because I've only seen this twice. So yeah, I guess that would have been.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. And Cassandra Peterson was on that. So yeah. I have this on Blu-ray. I found out last night that my Blu-ray does not work.
Oh.
So then I went on to Shudder. And I don't know if you tried to watch Shudder at all last night, but there was about an hour where Shudder was just down.
Oh. And it was the hour you're going to watch.
It was the hour I was going to watch it. And I was actually, and it was early enough to where I was going to watch the Joe Bob presentation. Like I was going to rewatch that because I was like, oh, it'll be fun to have some like Cassandra Peterson insight. But Shudder was down. I'm like, does the universe even want me to watch this movie? I was like literally just gonna go rent it on Vudu, even though I'm like, God, I should legitimately have a like. How do I not have a readily accessible version of this that actually plays? And then when Shudder finally came back up, it was so late that I just watched the movie itself. But yeah, I don't know. This one was I had watched it before Joe Bob played it. Maybe by like a couple of years, because for a while this one was hard to find. It wasn't available on like all this streaming. I think it wasn't until Shout Factory like picked it up and did the restoration that it started getting added to things like Shudder and kind of had its resurgence. But you could buy it for $10 in very grainy SD quality on YouTube, and so I did, and that was how I had watched it for all these years. Was just this like low quality rip on YouTube. Yeah. Well, I guess it wasn't a rip. Well, it probably was a rip. It was just a studio approved rip.
Yeah, the VHS rip onto YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I watched this on Amazon, and it was not the same quality that was on the Shudder presentation.
Okay, yeah, the Shudder presentation is the remastered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, for a straight to video movie in 2002, that was kind of
exactly
the way to watch it.
Yep. It's not a bad way to watch it at all. Like you don't lose any of the experience really. But I will say like the restoration is really it looks really nice. Mm-hmm. So they did a good job with it.
Yeah, so this one works for me. I like this one a lot. I'm a sucker for anything set or shot in Romania. This movie is set and shot in Romania. In our interview with Sam Irvin, he talked about going to Romania for this movie a couple years after he shot the two Full Moon Oblivion movies, and they went there because it's a lot cheaper to make movies in Romania than it is in the United States. Whereas the first movie of Elvira had $7 million budget, this one had apparently less than $1 million budget.
Mm-hmm. And it is pretty low budget, but they make the most of it.
They make the most of it. They have a giant castle that they're shooting in.
Yep.
Which helps. Like that's very much the Full Moon approach. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sam learned something from working with Charles Band all those years.
You know how to stretch a buck if you work with Charlie.
Yep. And most of this was paid out of pocket by Cassandra and her then husband as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. Like they just wanted to make this movie, and they're like, "Well, no one's going to fund it. We're going to fund it then."
Yep.
And they got Sam Irvin to direct, and I'm just going to let him tell the story on the interview. Like if you want to hear the story on how he got hired to direct Elvira's Haunted Hills, you're going to have to go check out the interview next week.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible story.
It is.
But this one, there's a couple different of the Poe Corman movies that it riffs on. Pit and the Pendulum is probably the biggest.
Yep, that one, and I'd say House of Usher. House of Usher is another big influence on this one.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I'm trying to remember which Poe. Is it in Pit and the Pendulum where they do the cask of Amontillado?
Yes. Yeah. The
brick enclosure. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think that's it. What one's that? Is that Mask of the Red Death?
Maybe. I don't know. I've only ever seen Pit and the Pendulum and the Raven.
Because they use that in Mike Flanagan uses that. He uses a lot of Poe stuff in The Fall of the House of Usher, and he uses the brick thing, and I want to say it's in the Mask of the Red Death episode.
Okay.
Maybe?
I don't know. It's one of my favorite Poe stories.
Yeah. No, it's not the Mask of the Red Death. God dang it. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I can't think of it right now.
Someone out there listening, they'll tell us. Let us know.
Yeah.
We'll get it after this episode comes out. We'll find out the answer. But yeah, it does a great. I mean, this again, it's literally telling a Edgar Allan Poe story very faithfully.
Yeah.
But Elvira's just thrown in it. And I think that's genius.
Yeah, it works because I mean her and the director Sam Irvin were both friends and fans of Vincent Price, and this is very much a kind of a loving homage to just like the work that he did with Corman and Poe, almost in the like. It's a little bit like Young Frankenstein, and I am going to
Yeah.
make that comparison.
Yeah.
Um, I genuinely like it. It's a good Hammer horror film while also being a very good send up of one. Like it feels like it could fit right in. Like if you told me it was made in the 1960s,
Well,
I would have believed you.
not a Hammer horror film, but
Or not. God dang it!
Corman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Corman.
Yeah.
My
Where
brain's
like
all messed
where
up.
like Young Frankenstein is like a really funny movie. It's a parody of Frankenstein,
Yeah,
but it's also a really good Frankenstein movie.
yeah,
Like this
yeah,
one's still a really good Poe movie.
yeah. Exactly. There's yeah, the whole torture chamber in the third act with where it goes full like pit and pendulum
Yeah.
territory is so great. Like it's like a legitimately impressive set too. Like
Hmm.
it's so good.
I think the opening of this movie even parodies a little of those Universal movies because you have
Yeah,
I should have wrote it down. What is Elvira's like friend in this? What was her name?
Zuzu.
Zuzu. And so
Yeah,
they get picked up by who Vincent Price would have played in these Poe movies.
Dr. Bradley Bradley.
Yeah, he even has a little Vincent Price mustache.
Yep, his hair is styled pretty much how Vincent Price
Yep.
did. Like, yeah,
Apparently, he
he's
was going to try to do a Vincent Price voice, and he couldn't. He just like, I couldn't do it, is what he basically said. He's doing something. He's doing something with his voice.
yep.
But anyway, he picks up Elvira and her friend, and they're in this like bumpy ride because like his driver and her friend just like start making out in the front. But he like
Yeah.
starts getting like a handful of her.
Oh yeah, she
And,
like
like she
tries to
falls into him.
she tries to exit at one point and he has to pull her back in and he literally pulls her back in by cupping her boobs.
Yeah.
Like he's a very handsy person.
Yeah. But again, that's a lot of those Universal movies start with like some sort of carriage ride
Oh yeah. Like a
as you
mysterious stranger picking you up
and you end up at a castle somewhere. Yeah. So it's a really funny riff on the classic horror tropes of both Universal and Corman.
Yep. By the way, you were correct. You said the cask of Amontillado.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one.
close
That's
enough.
the one. Yeah. What did you say? How do you say it?
What's the one?
That's the brick wall story.
Yes.
Yes.
I knew that.
Oh, what were you talking about?
What Poe movie is that in? Or what Corman movie is that in? That's the question.
Oh, that was the question.
Yeah.
Um,
Montiato is how I say it. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Montiato. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds about right. My
Yeah.
American ass definitely butchered that.
Yeah.
Apologies to French people. I'm gonna assume it's French. Sorry if it's not.
I don't think it is.
Oh shit! Just cut this. Cut this.
Move on.
Cut
Cut
this.
that. Do we need
Tales
to
of
move
Terror. Tales of Terror combines this story with the Black Cat. Apparently,
on? Okay.
I'm only good for on-air research, and then I
Okay.
blab and I yeah. Okay, there we go.
We'll have the editor cut that out.
Yeah,
Jokes on us. We don't have an editor.
we don't have an editor.
I was going to bring up Lord Helzibus, which is a great character name, played by Richard O'Brien.
Oh my god, he's amazing in this.
Who's Riff Raff in Rocky
Yep.
Horror Picture Show. He's so good in this. He's so funny. He's so over the top. He's so kooky and weird and crazy.
Yeah. Oh my god, just all of his facial expressions and the noise, like just the guttural noises he makes. I love when they come in and is it his it's his current wife who's like telling him, oh, my husband has an affliction, like he doesn't like loud noises and all this, you have to take off your shoes. And in taking off her shoes, there's that huge slapstick comedy piece where Elvira's literally hitting every noisy thing,
knocking a vase over and breaking it, and pushing her friend into the wall, and
where her friend trips into a gong. Oh my god. And
do you know who the wife, the current wife is?
Was it like Mary Shear was her name? Is that right?
That sounds right. I know her as Freddie's mom from iCarly.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It took me a second,
and I was like, I know her from something.
Yeah, and she's on like Mad TV. Oh my god. Totally never made that connection. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's pretty funny in this movie too. I think the cast is pretty perfect in this.
Yeah.
I love all the relative paintings that Lord Helzibus has as they're going up the staircase. And they're all him.
Yeah, they're all just like his face painted onto all the different, like there's even
including
the one with the baby.
With the child,
yeah.
His old face on it.
It's good genes, strong genes, you know?
Yeah. And then you have the other Elvira, which is Allura, which is his
deceased wife.
Yes, his deceased wife that looks exactly like Elvira. The name apparently comes from like what her hair is made out of. I had to look that up. Like,
oh, interesting.
That's apparently what Elvira is, either like what makes her wig stand up or what the actual wig is made out of, or yeah. So there's some meaning to the name related to Elvira. And then you get my favorite love interest of Elvira's, the dubbed over Adrian, who's like I don't know if he's like a stable boy or something like that for this. I
think they call him a stable boy, but he spends like no time in the stables.
I don't think there's really a stable in this.
Nope.
But he's a Romanian actor that didn't speak a lick of English, but he looked the part. They apparently wanted Fabio for this.
That's what I
couldn't afford him or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they hired this hunk that looks like him, and then like, okay, we'll just dub over it afterwards.
Honestly, it worked.
It totally works.
It's so funny. And they draw attention to it too, like in just the best ways. There's one part where, he like runs in and he goes, and he's like talking, and the voiceover is, "Yoo-hoo, Elvira, your carriage awaits."
I swear half the time in the third act, he's running around like trying to find Elvira, and he's not saying anything, but you just hear
Elvira.
Elvira.
It's so good. You have like the sickly niece Roxana, who's very House of Usher. The whole. Well, in the original story, it's like a sister who gets buried alive. But yeah, I love the whole sequence where they go and they dig up Allura's coffin, and they open it, and Allura's body's not there, and she like literally just keels over and dies.
Faints into it, yeah.
Yeah, faints into it. And there's that hilarious sight gag where they cut to them all standing over the coffin, and she's in it, and she's tiny. She's like a tiny child compared to the giant ass coffin. That whole sequence just like had me in stitches.
One thing I love, it's just people creeping around castles at night with candles.
Yes.
And this movie has so much of that.
Yep.
Like, it's just one of my favorite things. Immaculate from this year has a bunch of scenes of like Sydney Sweeney walking around the castle with a candle, and that's it. Yep. This one has a bunch of Elvira walking around with a castle with like creepy hidden corridors and like, again, the creepy like torture basement. Like that, I don't know. That vibe, it's 100% because of Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
is just
yeah.
my jam, and I every movie should be set in a castle like this. At least every horror movie, and this one uses it to its fullest potential. I think as a Corman, Edgar Allan Poe movie, that it still totally works, even though this is a parody, I guess, satire
Yeah.
of those movies. I
Yeah.
guess the big jokey part of this movie, the big most I think maybe the most memorable scene of this movie is the applause dance number.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the most jokey. It's the putting on the Ritz of the Young Frankenstein. It's the Elvira version of that.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, it's a great musical number. So much so that they're like, okay, well, we're gonna end our movie on
Yeah.
that twice, having that twice in this movie.
And, it's because it's vastly entertaining.
It is. So the third act of this movie goes straight into Pit and the Pendulum territory.
Yep.
Where
Right on down to, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just, yeah, you find out that, I mean, it's pretty obvious from the get-go, which it always kind of was in the Corman movies too, that like the guy killed his wife and was driven mad with jealousy. And they even do the whole thing where the doctor and his new wife have been conspiring against him the whole time, and they're actually madly in love.
And now that I'm just gonna call him Riff Raff. Riff Raff
Yeah.
goes mad at the end of the movie and like thinks Elvira is his deceased wife and starts to go after her because he thinks it's her.
Yep. And there's even the part. So I remember when we watched this for Tad's, when we watched the Pit and the Pendulum for Tad's episode, we thought it was really funny that Vincent Price was so fixated on one person that he saw as his brother. And then all of a sudden it like switched to another person just so he'd be distracted long enough.
Yeah.
And then it switches back. And this movie does that right on. Like it follows every beat and plays it up to 11 for comedy. It's a pretty amazing homage, honestly.
Yeah. And then the super jokey ending of this movie is that like the castle's about to crumble. Elvira gets out of the pit and the pit and the pendulum scenario. Her and what's our friend's name?
Zuzu.
Zuzu. They get out of the castle. And all of a sudden, like the Titanic theme starts playing, and the castle like starts sinking, and it like breaks in half and starts falling.
Yeah, there's also the like random just revelation that Adrian is, that the new wife of Vladimir is Adrian's half sister.
Yeah.
And so he has to run back in to save her. And he gets crushed. And you hear him underneath all the rubble going, "Ow, ouch, ow." Yeah. And then
it ends with them getting in another carriage for more misadventures.
Yes. And, okay, so even though that's played for a joke, endings like that creep me the hell out. Like it's really creepy when they get into the carriage and they're talking to the person and he's like, "Well, that castle hasn't been there for over 100 years." And then it like pans out and it's literally Richard O'Brien steering the carriage and he starts laughing. I'm still like, no, that's still creepy. Like I know this is a comedy, but
Know what that reminded me of?
The Hey Arnold episode.
Hey Arnold?
Yeah.
So that we watched. Yeah.
100%. That was what I thought of too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh shit, that reminds me of that Hey Arnold episode we watched on the show.
And that one always bugged me the fuck out too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yep.
All right. Well, Elvira's Haunted Hills, how many Pit and the Pendulums are you giving this movie?
I'm giving this thing 4 pits and 4 pendulums out of 5 pits and 5 pendulums. What are you giving?
I'm giving this one a 3.5, which is about where I'm at whenever I watch any of the Poe Corman movies.
That's fair. I usually rate them a little around the 4 range, so that makes sense.
Yeah, this one's a ton of fun. Would be a perfect double feature with any of those movies.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
God, this is such a fun double feature. Both of these movies are, in my opinion, just very underrated, underseen.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
if anything, Kayla watched both of these with me, and now she's on an Elvira kick, and we've just been watching some movie macabres and some of her other horror hosting. She even has like full moon ones.
Yep.
That she does. We watched a little of the Demonic Toys when she did.
Yeah.
For full moon.
Yep. She her 13 Nights of Elvira. I think all of that is
the full moon one.
Yeah. And she does Oblivion. We'll talk about that in a little bit too.
Yeah. I guess my final thoughts on this are I just want more Elvira stuff.
Yeah.
Can never have enough of it. Even though I didn't love Mistress of the Dark, I'm glad it exists. I want more of it. I want Elvira in a Universal Monster movie. Like, that would be my pitch for a third Elvira movie. Put her in one of the Universal Monster movies and have it be her version of Young Frankenstein. I think that would be a ton of fun. But yeah, I just want more. I think she could definitely have more stuff. Shudder, let her do another special.
Oh my God, yes. Her first special was so fun. Yeah, you know, I'm going to go a slightly different direction with my wish for an Elvira 3. I kind of hope that they take on the trauma grief porn subgenre of
Elvira's Midsommar.
Yeah.
Midwinter.
Can you imagine a vaudevillian slapstick version of like Hereditary?
But Elvira plays the mom.
Yeah. Geez. Takes forever to cut through bone.
Especially when these get in the way.
We should call Sam Irvin.
Yeah. Let's pitch him Midwinter.
Midwinter.
I don't know. That's the best I can come up with right now.
I love it.
All right, Sam, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Screaming Mad News.
Screaming Mad News. What's on the dock?
I mean, Screaming Mad News can also it's kind of an extension of Doobie Doing, because let's be honest, we've been pretty busy these last couple of weeks, Casey.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get busier, so.
Yeah. It is. Let's I guess we'll just jump into that part first, and then we'll talk about our recent watches. We don't have too many. We have a couple crossovers.
Yeah.
In there. So for news, Screaming Mad News, I guess the two big things for us and why our schedule might be a little wonky coming into September, especially. Mm-hmm. You might see a very abbreviated couple episodes in September.
Yes.
We have a couple events coming up. First of all, we have the first ever Vermillion Vortex Film Festival, which is in Vermillion, South Dakota. It's literally the halfway point between Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Sioux City, Iowa. So two of the somewhat major, I guess, cities that are close to Vermillion. It's home to the University of South Dakota, but on September 20th through the 22nd, Sam and I are two of the coordinators for the Vortex Film Festival there. We just announced our lineup that is available now. Do you remember what is the website that we have for that?
vermculture.org/vortex.
Vortex. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So go to vermculture.org/vortex, and tickets will be going on sale this week, or have gone on sale this week, I suppose. And that you can find at vermilliontheaters.com. I thought it was a .com.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big lineup. I counted. We have over 40 movies that we are playing during that film festival. Mm-hmm. We have a South Dakota premiere on Friday night. It's not horror related. It's a brand new release, Lost on a Mountain in Maine, directed by Andrew Keitlinger, who is a South Dakota native who
Yeah.
This movie's produced by Sylvester Stallone and his company, Balboa Productions. So super cool. We got the South Dakota premiere. I believe it's going to be probably the second time this movie's ever played before it hits nationwide release in November.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty cool. That's an understatement. It's going to be really cool.
And then the big one for horror fans that we have coming up on the, and Andrew will be there in person. We'll be doing the Q&A for that as well. And then also on Saturday, the big one for horror fans, the one that we should really be pushing on this podcast, at least, friend of the show. We interviewed him when this movie was just about to come out. It's the hit found footage film of 2024. Frogman is going to be playing at the Vortex Film Festival. That'll be on Saturday, September 21st, with director Anthony Cousins there as well. We'll be doing a Q&A talking about Frogman. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Frogman 2 because that has been announced now. And I think we'll definitely be talking to him about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When we interviewed Anthony, we had not yet seen Frogman. So the fact that we get to host and moderate a Q&A now, like, there's before Frogman and there's after Frogman, and I have a ton of questions.
Yeah, there's BF and AF. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess coming up the weekend after. So again, that's the Vortex Film Festival. We'll put all the links to that in the show notes below. But then the weekend after, we just released the lineup for the SiouxperCon Film Festival. Hopefully that'll be out by the time this episode is. If not, we got a couple teases that we can throw out here. We just had our Thursday night. We added a Thursday night this year. We are doing Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror. This is the Doug Jones version. This is only like playing in select theaters with Doug Jones. Basically, he's the only person touring with this. So it's very, very select that people have seen this. That is sold out. So if you are listening to this, unfortunately sold out one night showing at the Sioux Falls State Theater with Doug Jones there in person. But then on Friday night, we have friend of the show, Nick Simon. We're going to be playing his 2017 film, I believe. Truth or Dare.
I almost said I was almost like Trick or Treat, right?
Trick or Treat, yeah. No, Truth or Dare.
Truth or Dare.
The better version.
Yes, the better Truth or Dare.
The better Truth or Dare. Nick will be doing a Q&A with us afterwards. And then we're going to play a brand new found footage film that was submitted to the festival called Name the Demon. We're going to try our best. We're just throwing this out there into the universe to get the filmmakers on before SiouxperCon to do an interview for that and really hype up that screening. Yeah. Sam and I literally watched 15 minutes of this.
Yeah, and we were both like,
yep, we're playing this.
Yeah.
We're playing this. We want to watch this with a crowd.
Stars, friend of the show, Joe Castro, who we interviewed for his movie Terror Tunes.
Yeah.
Actor and makeup artist. Yeah.
Looks like some of his makeup artistry has made it into it, and he gets to play a Catholic priest in this.
Yeah, this movie is it's wild.
I guess the rest of the lineup, I don't know. Do we need to throw out anything else? We have some local shorts playing on Saturday, the 28th of September. That we have a few. I think there's a few horror shorts sprinkled in there.
Yeah, we've got a few horror shorts. I mean, you could almost consider Lock and Key horror.
Yeah. Shout out Lock and Key. It's my spoilers. It's my favorite movie we're playing over both of these festivals. I love it so much. Go watch it. Like, you have to come to either Vortex or SiouxperCon just for that. We're going to be doing a horror panel with Nick Simon and Dana DiLorenzo at SiouxperCon. We're showing it's speaking of horror hosts, it's like a horror host documentary talking about the history of horror comics. Tons of fun stuff. And then we're ending things at SiouxperCon this year on Sunday, September 29th, showing the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with screenwriter Todd Langen. We'll be doing a Q&A afterwards, so we're very pumped for that. Again, we'll put the link to all this stuff in the show notes of this episode. We'll not plug it for a while again. We're
Yeah,
just throwing it
probably
out
not.
there because the schedules are finally out there for everyone to see. All the stuff we've literally been working on for like an entire year.
Yeah,
It's
it's
finally out there.
finally like, and you would think that, oh, since we have all of that done, like things are going to slow down, right? And I mean, we've done this enough years in a row to know that's just not true.
Yeah.
So
again, it's more so, hey, here's the schedule. It's out there. Go get your tickets. We'd love to see you there if you're able to make it to Vermillion, South Dakota, or Sioux Falls, South Dakota in September. But that's also to say our lineup is going to be a pretty light on this podcast for September.
Yep. Well, did we even mention, before the weekend before we host 2 back-to-back film fests?
Yeah, we'll be at a horror convention.
Yeah, we'll be at a horror convention. We'll be at Little Con of Horrors in
Omaha.
Omaha, yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, we're going to be everywhere in September, and pretty light on this podcast.
Yep.
So enjoy it while you can, people. But we'll go big in October. Like we'll slow down a little September. You'll still get a weekly episode, but October we'll
do a couple we'll do a couple marathon episodes.
Yeah. Sam, what about what else we got? We got Doobie Doing next.
Yeah. So Casey, aside from all of the stuff that we have already been talking about.
Yeah.
What have you been doobie doing lately?
So I guess talking about the Sioux Falls State Theater, another cool thing we did because we just love to be busy. Apparently,
yes.
We had our first night as I guess the horror hosts for late night at the Sioux Falls State Theater. We played Terror Vision, and I know we got a lot of people crossing over into this podcast because of that. So shout out to Stephen and Allison at the Sioux Falls State Theater. Stephen has been a big part of putting on the late night at the States for the last, I guess they're going to be on their 4th year this year, this coming December, 4-year anniversary of the Sioux Falls State Theater reopening. And we're so happy to be a part of that and show Terror Vision, which was an absolute blast. Sam got to dress up as Medusa. We got to do some trivia beforehand, give out some prizes on this movie. And my favorite part, this was so cool. I'm so glad this worked out and came together perfectly. We had Ted Nicolau, who made a personal message for us to intro the movie.
Yeah.
So cool. Shout out Ted Nicolau. Thank you so much for doing that for us. It seriously made it like, I don't know.
It was
an experience, a very big experience that he took time out to give a shout out to 60 of us in Sioux Falls, South Dakota to watch his crazy little weird movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously we have a whole
we don't need to talk about the movie.
We don't need to talk about the movie, but yes, the experience of hosting it was just, it was awesome. And if anybody who was at that screening is listening, and I have a feeling quite a few are, thanks for coming out. Thanks for talking to us. Like, I had a blast at our table out in the lobby, just talking to everybody.
Next one coming up August 16th. That's all we're saying. We'll give you the date. That's it.
Yep.
August 16th, Sioux Falls State Theater.
So mark your calendars, but
we also don't know what the actual title is yet, but
no, but
we can't tell you what it is anyway. We don't know.
When we know, you'll probably know.
Yeah.
So
other things that I watched, I watched this movie called The Cave. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I have not heard of. Well, wait. It's a generic name, so maybe.
I got to look up a year. 2005.
No, I don't think I've heard of this.
Okay, so the next 2 movies I'm talking about, Dakota, my buddy Dakota was over. Shout out Dakota. We need to get you on the show so people know who you are at some point.
Right.
Just to literally say, hi, I'm Dakota. Anyway, he was over and we're both like, what do we want to watch? And he was in an adventure mood. Sam just had a major shock on his face. Anyway.
No, I've seen this.
Oh, you've seen this? Okay.
I've seen this.
Yeah. And so we're like, let's watch an adventure movie. I'm always like, well, I want to watch a horror movie. And so we're like, what's a horror adventure movie? Like that's a weird genre. Not a lot of them exist. Like, we're both like The Descent, and we've both seen that. we're like the pyramid, and we're like, we love you, Nick Simon, but I don't want to watch the pyramid again. I like that movie. We should talk about it sometime. Because have you watched the pyramid?
I have not seen the pyramid.
Okay,
no.
we should do an episode of the pyramid and have Nick on too. So I was looking up stuff, and we just came across this movie called The Cave from 2005, directed by Bruce Hunt. I think this is one and only movie he ever did. It stars Cole Hauser, who was the villain in Too Fast, Too Furious, Lena Headey, Morris Chestnut, Piper Perabo from Coyote Ugly. So like,
or as I knew her from Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But like this movie is so 2005 with the cast members. I think it does a great job of just casting this movie of like, hey, this is who we can afford, who can fit these roles perfectly. It's about these underground divers who go into this cavern in Romania. I didn't know it was in Romania. It was just happenstance that this took place in Romania. And basically they find like these underground caverns that have all these creatures inside of it. And they eventually get stuck inside there. And they have to try to find their way out. But in doing so, they realize, oh, we're not the first humans that have ever been down here. And what happened to these other people? And basically they got like mutated into these mutated cave monsters, flying cave monsters. And it's this movie rules. The Cave rules.
Casey,
yeah,
you have unlocked like such a memory. I think I might have blocked this movie out because it scared the shit out of me when I saw it.
This movie rules. This movie's a ton of fun. Like revisit it. Like
I'm putting it back on the watch list because I feel like I need to revisit this. Like I forgot all about this movie.
Like no one talks about this movie. Like even you saying that, like The Cave, that's such a generic title. It is a generic title.
Yeah.
Comes out the same year, I believe, as The Descent. So don't call this The Descent ripoff because...
You know, it's funny. I actually think I double featured this at a friend's house with The Descent. And I think both of these movies back to back, just like...
That's the episode I'm going to put on our eventual...
We should, because like...
Those two movies.
I remember that night. I remember two different cave movies, and like one of them had Piper Perabo in it, and the other one was The Descent.
Yeah.
And like, oh my God.
So the Cave, watch it, 2005. It's probably literally on everything. I think we watched it on Tubi. This movie rules, super underrated. Great creature effects. Even the CGI for 2005 still holds up because they know when to use it and when to use actual practical effects. The acting's really good. There's a great mystery. It's super tense moments, awesome like stunts, and production design of inside this cave. This movie rules. Go watch The Cave.
That's awesome.
So after that, we kind of ran out of horror adventure movies. So if people out there listening have any horror adventure movies that they want to throw my way, please let me know, because that seems like a weird genre that just doesn't have very many of them.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, Dakota's like, all right, show me the Nazi Puppet Master movie. And so we watched Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge. This movie rules. It's my favorite Puppet Master movie by far. Shot on the Universal backlot. Great puppeteering in this movie. 6-shooter. They loved using 6-shooter in this movie because the stop motion effects on him are incredible in this movie. He is so good. And I forgot how he's basically the main puppet in this movie. And again, the main puppet that has 6 arms you have to control at once. Yeah, it's insane what they did with this movie.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, highly recommend Puppet Master 3. Even you don't need to watch. Dakota had never seen any of the other Puppet Masters. We just jumped into this one. You're fine doing the same. And my last one is I'll leave for both of us to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's our crossover, and it'll go directly into our
plugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the only thing I've been doing, I mean, I've watched a few things on Pluto TV, but they've all been like just stuff that's been on, and none of it's been like horror. been in a need for comedies in the background lately, you know?
Yeah.
But I did finally watch the new Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. These titles are all ridiculous, but I love them. This movie kind of surprised me. It's directed by Wes Ball, and he's known for doing the Maze Runner trilogy, which I actually think is kind of underrated in that YA kind of grouping. Like, I think it's better than most of those. I've always kind of found the Maze Runner just like more visually interesting, and
how many of those are there?
there's only three.
Okay, so there's the three.
The first one's good. I do not like the second one, but I think that's more of a middle chapter type of thing than anything else. And I thought it ended in a really strong, stylish fashion. So when he was going to take over Planet of the Apes, I was actually pretty excited for it. I was like, visually, this guy can do Planet of the Apes. But I kind of expected myself. I kind of expected a little bit more of a popcorn vibe from this one. Just because of who is behind the camera. And I definitely think that like those expectations held true with this. Like it is a little bit more popcorny than like the Matt Reeves ones. But I don't think that it's necessarily dumbed down in any kind of thematics. I actually found this one pretty compelling. It's set like generations after the Reeves ones. So Caesar is kind of like ancient history almost. And it's interesting to see how these different clans of apes have formed and how different clans use the teachings of Caesar differently, and how the teachings of Caesar have been twisted over time to allow apes, like certain apes in power, to keep a narrative going. I don't know. I really found this one fascinating. And I can see kind of where it's going in conjunction with bridging the Rupert Wyatt, Matt Reeves trilogy to the original run of movies. It's kind of another piece of that puzzle. And I'm excited to see where they go. I'm assuming they're planning another trilogy to sprout from this movie. And the end of this movie had me very intrigued to see where they go next. This is a complete movie. It tells a complete story. I wouldn't necessarily say it ends on a cliffhanger, but it ends on a note of intrigue where you're like, okay, I kind of know where you're headed next, and I'm interested to see what that looks like. So in short, I guess I really liked it. I really thought this one was good. I love these movies, though. I'm a big sucker for Planet of the Apes movies.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is like legitimately one of my favorite blockbusters of all time. I saw that so many times the summer it came out. So yeah,
2014, I believe. That was a great year for me.
It was a great year for movies. I'm pretty sure I saw Dawn at least 3, maybe even 4 times in the theater. I couldn't get enough of that movie. Yeah, it was so good. So yeah,
I'm excited to finally watch it. I think it's on streaming now, like free streaming. I think it might be on Peacock.
It might be, yeah. Unless anybody decides to be like, why do you bring up Planet of the Apes on a horror podcast? Planet of the Apes is in the new Fango. Suck it, nerds.
Yeah, it's 100% falls into what we do.
Yep. Also, this Fango cover is amazing.
That cover rules. Yeah,
I love it.
Did I show off mine?
I don't know if you did.
Yeah,
you have the long legs cover.
Yeah, I
correct?
got the long legs cover.
Yeah. That one's gross.
It is very gross.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then our thing that we kind of watched together for our interview with Sam Irvin.
Yeah.
We got him on the pod to talk about the 30th anniversary of his full moon sci-fi western,
Why are you
Oblivion.
guys talking about a sci-fi western on a horror podcast?
Because we talk about whatever we want.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything on the next podcast.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so we watched Oblivion for its 30th anniversary. You can, I mean, I'm not going to say much because we literally dive into the entire movie.
Yeah.
With Sam Irvin in that over hour-long interview we did with him, and so many incredible stories of that. It's the biggest cast in any full moon movie, kind of by a large margin. Yeah, I highly recommend watching Oblivion. I watched Oblivion 2 as well because I had never seen that one, and I liked it more than the first one even. Nice. I think it's a ton of fun. I wanted more in that universe, and it sucks that we only get the 2 movies.
Yeah,
but
it's such a fun world. Like
it is, yeah. It's the original Cowboys and Aliens, so much so that they tried to sue Cowboys and Aliens, and they're like, "Well, we don't have any money to sue them."
Yeah, I just don't know if that would have held up simply because, like, plot wise, they don't really have a whole. Well, I guess actually. Holy crap, no.
Pretty sure the poster of Oblivion says Cowboys and Aliens on it.
Yeah. Also, Cowboys
Looking
and Aliens.
at you, Jon Favreau, you ripped off Oblivion.
I like Jon Favreau, but that movie's not good.
Yeah.
Neither is his Lion King, but, he's allowed a couple misses. He made Chef and Iron Man, so.
He did.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, go check out that interview. We'll be dropping next week with Sam Irvin.
Yeah.
Oblivion 1 and 2. Go watch them. They're a ton of fun. Again, they need a I think we talked about it with Bad Channels that it desperately needs a HD transfer.
Yep.
Both
nice restoration and remaster.
Need a nice remaster. I wish they would get that. I hope that's one of my hopes for Full Moon now is Bad Channels and the 2 Oblivion movies to get a restoration.
The 2 Oblivion, like an Oblivion Blu-ray like double feature pack would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
And if anyone from Full Moon is listening, or Sam Irvin is listening, we would love to be featured on that Blu-ray somehow. We would be glad to do a commentary on either or both of those movies.
Commentary, cast and crew interviews.
Yeah, anything you guys
anything you want. Just let us know.
Hit us up. Hey, Sam, if they want to hit us up, though, we got to get to the plugs of the show.
We got to get to the plugs.
If they would like to hit us up, where could they hit us up at on that social media platform?
Well, you can find us on just about any social media platform. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You just search Screams from the Basement and we pop up. Just hit us up on all of our socials. We love
all of them at the same time.
On all of them at the same time. Just overwhelm me. I love when I get tons of notifications at once on my phone. Casey knows that.
Yeah.
I don't have a mini panic attack every time it happens.
Please do it. Well, if they would just like to listen to this show and leave us a rating and review, where can they do that?
If you would like to listen to this show, leave a nice rating, a nice 5-star rating. Your review doesn't have to be nice then. You give us 5 stars, you can say whatever you want about us. I don't care. Yeah. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and we are on YouTube if you like the visual component. Casey works really hard on these backgrounds and layouts, and I think it looks awesome. So you should check it out.
You can see us in our own spooky habitats.
Yeah. I'm going to be like kind of switching mine up to go with more of a fall vibe pretty soon. Ooh. I'm excited. So, yeah.
Sam's going to have that pumpkin spice vibe behind him pretty soon.
Yeah. And probably pumpkin spice coffee while I'm recording every night.
We're almost there, folks. We're almost there.
We're so close.
Sam, where can they buy some merch of ours, or even from our friends at
Hodgebob?
Hodgebob, because I just got my new Hodgebob Productions T-shirt from TeePublic.
Yeah. You can buy Screams from the Basement or Hodgebob merch on TeePublic. If you would like Screams from the Basement merch, you can go to teepublic.com/Screams from the Basement, or you just search Screams from the Basement. We're the only Screams from the Basement shop on TeePublic. So yeah.
And if there's another one, they're fakers.
Yeah.
They're stealing our identity.
They are stealing our identities.
If they would like to buy some cool things on Fangoria, they can go to shop.fangoria.com/screamsfromthebasement. Use discount code screamsfromthebasement to save yourself some money. We all love saving some money. So please use our affiliate code Screams from the Basement whenever you shop on Fangoria. Sam, do we have anything else that we need to plug? I don't think so.
I don't think so. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up in these next couple months, though. So, keep your eyes peeled and look for updates on all of it, because it's gonna be a fun couple of months.
Yes.
So
it is gonna be a ton of fun. We hope you all can join us on that journey for the next couple months, and honestly after, because we're not going to stop. We're not slowing down.
It's not going to slow down. We keep saying when it slows down, and I think both of us have just given up hope on it.
Literally, we say, okay, well, when September is done, it'll be time to slow down. By the time September is done, it's October.
Yeah.
Like literally the busiest month we could have doing this.
Yep. But, maybe we can focus on just doing like podcasts. Like, I don't know. Give them some extra long, like 3-hour.
We won't have 2 giant events we are planning.
Yeah.
2 back-to-back weekends. I think we'll be fine.
So maybe we can plan 2 giant podcast episodes for you.
I have ideas. I have ideas. I know Sam will definitely have some ideas as well. And Anyway, Sam, give us that sign off before we tell the people goodbye.
All right, everybody. As always, thanks for tuning in. And sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.